Hi guys, Shannon here, your friendly fellow apostate. I want to talk about polygamy again today, and I know I've talked about it a few times before, and I'm going to talk about it a bunch more too, because I feel like I was really traumatized by that whole concept and doctrine. Also, I am driving on the right side of my car, on the left side of the road, but as one listener commented, my videos are flipped around, so I don't know, YouTube does that, and I don't know how to change it. Also, the New Zealand motorcycle gang is in front of me, so like, if you hear some really loud engines in a second here, that's why. So anyways, I was listening to Elder Oak's talk this morning, from this last conference called Trust in the Lord, and it's interesting, like, spotting the gaslighting and the brainwashing and all the stuff that, like, it's just so much easier to see it for what it is now. So yeah, I mean, I haven't listened to that much of it, but I think it is, I don't know, like, it's helpful to me to see, now that I have some distance from it, to be able to see all the emotionally unhealthy things so that I can sort of try to understand what some of the things that I'm still going through, like I don't know if I want to call it trauma, but maybe. Anyways, let's just get started. I'm babbling again. So Elder Oaks' talk, what was it called? Trust in the Lord. And today's October 19th, 2019. So this was from, just this last October conference a couple weeks ago. And he opens his talk by saying he got this letter from this woman who was asking him, hey, I'm looking at getting married to this guy sealed in the temple, and he's been married before to this woman who passed away. And so I'm just wondering, like, do I have to share in the next life? Do I have to share a house with him and his first wife, or do I get my own house? And so he reads this part of the letter, and I'm sure kind of like smirks. I wasn't watching it because I was like doing yard work while I was listening. And then the audience kind of laughs, and which is kind of sad for the woman, because like she's honestly asking this question and he's dismissive, and the audience is kind of playing along with that, being like, oh, silly woman, like, why would she care about such things? And of course his response, which is the typical bullshit response, is it doesn't matter, trust in the Lord, like the Lord will work all things out. So I just want to talk about like that little snippet of it. First of all, right there is that, one, this poor woman, that she's like putting the fact that she would put so much faith and so much trust in a church leader, to think that he knows down to the detail of, is she going to have to share a house with her husband and her husband's first wife, or is she going to get her own house? She's delusional that she's thinking that he's going to have the answer to that, because the guys at the top don't know any of this stuff anyways. So, I mean, I just feel bad for the woman that she thinks that Elder Oaks would actually know a detail like that, and obviously he doesn't, and then he can just pawn it off to, oh, the Lord will work things out, don't worry about it. And second of all, I feel so bad for this woman that that's her reality, and not that it is real, but because she believes it's real, like, that puts so much psychological damage and stress and pressure on her. And I know, because I was in the same position as all women are that believe in the gospel, that are true believing members of the church. Like, we're in this psychologically damaging position of thinking that we're going to share our husbands in the next life. And it sucks. It really sucks. So I wish the church would get a new revelation, since they seem to be able to get those anytime it's convenient, and admit that polygamy was like a total scam. It was perpetuated by a sex addict, and who was also a criminal. I mean, Joseph Smith I wish the church would stop trying to call him a martyr. He actually charged with valid charges, which we'll talk about in like other episodes. But you know, he's made out to be this martyr who didn't want to practice polygamy, and so angel with a drawn sword, and all these images of Joseph Smith like reluctantly doing this practice that he totally didn't want to do. Well, that is not at all the case. And why can't the church just be honest? Like, can't you just admit that it was wrong, that Joseph Smith was a sex addict? And if you have to do those mental gymnastics to try to keep the church going, like, well, Joseph Smith, you know, he was a human and he got some things wrong, like polygamy, for example, but he got a lot of other things right. Like, you can still do that and still try to pretend that it's just, the more you do that, it's going to fall apart. Like, everything is going to fall off of, like, you know, the Book of Abraham and all, polygamy and racism and all these things that Joseph Smith didn't get quite right. And, well, the Book of Mormon actually wasn't actually translated. It was given by revelation because he never actually looked at the plates. He just looked at some stones that it had, and it was the same stones that he used to find treasure on people's property that he never actually found. He just charged people for. I mean, it's so freaking laughable. It's not even funny. I don't remember where I was going with that. My point, yes, I do remember where I was going with that. Damn it. I was saying that I wish the church would just admit, because it's so psychologically damaging to women. I know I was like totally psychologically damaged. I mean, maybe that's too strong of a word, but maybe not. Like, I was totally affected by that, thinking that I was going to be one of many wives to my husband. And why is this psychologically damaging? Well, I don't know, like, guys, any guys that are watching, like, please tell me your thoughts. If you were a member, like, how you viewed polygamy when you were in the church. I know a lot of guys would, like, I'm sure my ex-husband too, like, yeah, get it on. We get to have a bunch of different women that in the next life, like the Muslims too, you know, like Islam, if you die a martyr, unless you're killed by a woman, you're like, you get what, 99 virgins or something. But then I would like to think that there's good men too. They're like, yeah, that's kind of jacked up. It's not really fair to women to have that hanging over their heads. It's not. It's so freaking. I hate it. I hate that it's perpetuated in the church. That it's this. Yeah, as a woman, you work hard your whole life. You know, going to the temple, doing your genealogy, preparing your church lessons, serving in your callings, doing your visiting teaching or your ministering, or doing all these things only to be one of many wives to your husband in the next life. Like, that sucks. And so Elder Oaks also talks in that talk, like a little bit more later in the talk, he brings up another kind of similar situation, and he says, well, it's going to be so great in the next life, like, that's not even going to matter. Well, first of all, to me, relationships are everything. Like, that is what you can be in, like, a not so great of a place. Like, your surroundings can be not so great, and if you have this amazing relationship that is just like so happy and so good, then like that makes up for everything. And then you can reverse it, and you could be like in heaven with streets paved of gold and whatever. And then if you're like one of many wives, or what about a concubine? Like, what the hell is a concubine? Like, just, it's like a lesser status of a wife. So like purely just for sexual pleasure whenever the man feels like it. If that's the situation you're living in, it doesn't matter if the streets are paved of gold. It doesn't matter if they're freaking diamond studded. Like, you're still freaking miserable. It would still be hell. It does matter, Elder Oaks. It does matter. And to tell us as women, don't worry about those details. Like, I'm so freaking sick of being told by male leaders not to worry about the details in the next life about polygamy, to like just go along with it, it'll be fine. Ugh. Yeah, it's just, I've asked, maybe you guys have watched my other episodes, but I've asked a few different leaders of the church that question, like, so am I gonna, it seems like from DNC 132, I'm gonna have to share my husband in the next life, and they've all pretty much confirmed that and been like, well, think of it like you're the queen bee, you know, at least you get to pick the other women, crap. That doesn't make me feel any better. And so, like, maybe as a man, you're wondering, like, well, think about, like, the new in love phase of, like, a relationship and how amazing that feels and how good that feels. And then inevitably, like, that's replaced with a deeper, more mature love. Well, if you're with a man, like, that gets a bunch of wives, like, say, Joseph Smith or any of the other members of, you know, like, the early leaders of the church, they didn't have to worry about continuing to court their wives. They didn't have to worry about continuing to, you know, like, take them on dates or do anything to make them fall back, you know, keep falling in love with them. Like, that's what makes a relationship good, is that you're both putting forth effort. It, like, gives the man a free pass to say, nah, I don't have to do anything. Like, see what you can do to impress me. But if I'm not impressed anymore, I'm just going to go get myself a new wife. I mean, that's totally the mentality. I mean, Brigham Young, like, look at his awful quotes about, he said things like, some of my wives have never seen a happy day in their life since I took my next wife. And that they just need to round up their shoulders and get over themselves. Like, what a miserable existence. No, thank you. No, thank you, Brigham Young. I'll take a hard pass on that lifestyle. So, yeah, Mormon Church, just would you please get a revelation like you did with the 2-hour church, full reversal on the gays policy, revelation like the, oh, blacks can now receive the priesthood, or any of the other things that you've gotten revelation and changed things around. Would you just get a revelation that admits that polygamy was started by, perpetuated by sexual predators, and we're ending the practice even in heaven? So, like, you've ended the practice here on earth, but you are perpetuating it in the next life, and that's so wrong, because look at how it was started, how it was founded. It was all based on lies. It was all based on secrecy. That was basically the premise of the Temple Covenants, and all the secrecy that is in the Temple Covenants is, like, Joseph Smith was trying to keep people from talking about polygamy and talking about, like, his indiscretions, or, like, the fact that he was practicing this even behind Emma's back, and he was swearing his brothers and fellow cohorts in polygamy into secrecy. So I just wish the church would be honest. I just wish they would stop the psychological damage that is being done by polygamy, and the fact that it's still in our modern scriptures in Doctrine and Covenants 132 saying that that's how it's going to be in the next life.